So if it is all in the mind, what does that mean? Was it real? Was it a psychosomatic made-up thing? Or is it the fact that what we experience comes from the mind, is stemmed from within the subconscious mind? Does that fact make what it is that we're experiencing, surviving and living through all the more real? I know for me in the past, when I've been really acutely struggling, if someone had come along and been like, no, but it's all in your mind, I'd have been like, well, it's not, because I'm physically experiencing this. While I'm feeling depressed and anxious and overwhelmed, I'm experiencing body aches and chronic fatigue, very real bloating and acne and this tension, pain within my body. I'd have been angry straight up and just been like, no, you're completely invalidating me by saying what you're experiencing is of the mind. The reason for that would have been my lack of understanding, and not lack as in, oh, you're less than, more. I haven't got there yet. I'm really finding myself when I'm learning new things, it's so much easier to do it from a place of grace and compassion. I hadn't got to that bit yet. That's okay. Really interesting, like a lot of us have had this journey where we used to be hardcore vegan for like half a decade. I was vegan for 5 years. And I've done this, a couple of friends have as well. We're reintroducing meat into our diets, which is a really intense journey. And I want to speak about this more in another video. In depth, of course, me and my hyperverbal ways. But all of these choices and these changes that we're making, while they are reflected in our physical actions, symptoms, the way that we are showing up in life and the way that our lives are mirrored back to us, all of it stems back to the subconscious mind. All of it stems back to the beliefs that are running the habit of thought, which are creating our feelings, which are influencing our actions. And of course, our actions are what makes up the way that our lives are panning out and looking like, what's being fed back to us. For example, if I'm someone who believes that I'm not enough, my feeling may be that I'm less than, and then the actions that will be reflected from that feeling of, oh, I feel less than, I feel depressed, I feel anxious, there's a tension here. Maybe I'm not going to be putting myself out in the world. Maybe I'm not going to honor my needs, look after my health, socialize with people that actually are nice to be around. It's so interesting, but the most complicated symptoms, and there's so many different things happening, and like it feels like there's this big knot of challenge and difficulty. When we work with the subconscious mind, when we come into that time, place and space of curiosity and compassion, which is going to lead us to understanding, we can take these big knots of pain and confusion and what on earth am I going to do, and we can strip it back. We can find the beliefs that are running these reactions. It's so fascinating. I've worked with clients who've come to me for one issue. Say they've come to me to work with anxiety, and we work through the anxiety. We find out that it was really trying to protect them, and they picked it up at the age of 3. So say they've come in for the anxiety. We've cleared it. We've installed confidence. Perfect. Brilliant. Then when we have our 30-day check-in, my clients will turn to me and go, so while we were working on the anxiety, we identified the belief that my body was trying to protect me through this contraction, this tension, this frantic way of living, of dysregulation. Because we cleared that core belief, also my back pain's gone. Also the procrastination that I used to experience is gone. Also the digestive issues that I used to experience, they have gone. So it's so fascinating that when we go to the root cause, not only are we clearing what we cognitively are aware is associated with that problem, the other things which were festering, playing out in the background, and we're going, I don't know why I do that. It doesn't have an anchor anymore. So it's often the case, always the case, that our beliefs are the anchors for so many different things that we're experiencing. Once that belief's gone, there's nothing tying that reaction in place anymore. And this is one of the many reasons why I love working with the subconscious mind, because we can go in and create real actionable change across the board. It's such a shift. I used to be someone who was like, no, you can only take medication, and if like a chronic condition, it's called a chronic condition because it's there forever, there's nothing you can do. Very left brain, you know, very like black and white, that's it, that's the end. And it's so fascinating having the audacity and the grit and the grace with myself to go into my subconscious mind and explore what's happening here. Like, why does my body keep creating these chronic conditions? I fix one thing, something else pops up. Well, there was a belief there that was like, if I'm ill, if I'm struggling, if I'm unable to function in a way that genuinely works for me, then someone's going to look after me and I'm going to get my emotional needs met and I'll know that I'm loved. It's so beautiful that these really gritty conditions that we are surviving and crawling through go from, for me anyway, feeling like this is happening to me, this is really overwhelming, to this is happening for me, and not in like a bypassy way of it's happening for me, like it's fine, love and light. No, this is happening for me. I'm trying to get my needs met. It's that real inner child moment of we want to feel loved, we want to feel protected, and we want to be part of something. We need love, we need connection, community, purpose, like these seemingly baseline, basic things that living in this modern world is making more and more challenging. So when we work with the subconscious mind, we can get to the root of what we're actually trying to achieve here. And I love it. So that's what I wanted to speak to today. I really wanted to discuss, what does it mean for things to be from the mind? It doesn't just, like with the PMDD that I used to experience, the fact that I created the PMDD to try and get my emotional needs met, because as a child it was a bit of a mixed bag, not from anyone's intention, just the way that it was. That does not negate the fact that the PMDD that I experienced from the age of 13 years old to 23 wasn't horrific and this, like it was that. It was gritty, it was horrible, it got me into some really horrible situations. The fact that my subconscious mind had created that reaction to try and get my emotional needs met doesn't negate that that was still a horrendous time of my life. Yes, I did have the audacity and the grit and the privilege to grow from it and learn from it, and it ended up, as much as it took from my life, it also ended up really enriching it. I don't think I'd have got super into cyclical literacy and the subconscious mind had it not been for that experience. And yet, as I've said now 3 times, doesn't mean it wasn't awful. And I think one of my dear friends, one of their main lines is like, 2 things can be true. And for me, that was something that I really struggled to reckon with. I used to be so black and white. It's right or it's wrong. It's true or it's false. That's cool or it's not. Like, no chill. One or the other. A big valley of like, doesn't matter. It's one or the other. And it was really fascinating, again, working with my subconscious mind, being really curious. Okay, where's this black and white thinking come from? Someone could step in at this point, maybe you have yourself, and been like, no, that's a sign of autism. Brilliant, great, it's all to play for. Let's still break out and find out why that black and white thinking is showing up for me. Labels are very handy and very helpful, and I definitely like weaponize labels in my own life. When I received my autism diagnosis, it was like perfect. Big, huge processing around receiving that label. It really changed what so much of my previous experiences meant for me. And when I'd moved through that really deep processing experience, again, I brought in that curiosity piece. My inner artist, the creative, came in and was like, so what does this mean for us now? Like, we've processed what this autism label meant for your history, but how are we going to use this in the future? And it kind of became this light, playful thing for me to explore. So I took this autism label, slight tangent, but it is relevant. I took this autism label and started utilizing. I took the autism label and I utilized it as a map. And I was like, right, autism. You're diagnosing me with this based off of social symptoms. Perfect. You're not wrong. This has been a challenging life thus far. But let me look at the biochemistry. Let me look at what's deeper than the biochemistry, the subconscious mind that's fueling the state of my biochemistry. So that's how I got into, let's start breaking this down, blanket label, and let's start seeing how I can use it to inform how I support myself, how I navigate my healthcare explorations that I've kind of been entered into. For me, healthcare, well-being, wellness wasn't so much of a could do, it was like a have to. I can't go on much longer like this. I'm gonna have to finally wave my white flag and get really into well-being. I'm so grateful that I've had the subconscious support, the hypnotherapy, rapid transformational therapy, to really be that underlying guide, because I've studied, looked into, researched, read about so many different health modalities. Good news for me, and potentially great news for you as well. The subconscious mind, our state of mind, our internal subconscious environment, the deepest informant of how our health shows up. Fascinating. So interesting. So if all else fails, work with your subconscious. It's something I used to say, whereas now that's my first port of call. If I'm bloated all the time, sure, we could take certain foods out, sure, we could go and get a digestive enzyme, sure, we could externally buy a bunch of different products, or we can save that time and invest that same amount of time, money, resources into, let me work with my subconscious mind, let me utilize hypnosis to create the bridge from my cognitive to my subconscious mind, let me bring in the therapeutic tools, hypnotherapy, ta-da, and let's find out why my body is creating this reaction. Okay, and it feels so much lighter and so much less scary. Right, let me learn all of the pathology and the labels and all the this and all of that and brr. We are creatures of feeling. We are creatures of habits, subconscious habits. We're creatures of patterns, subconscious patterns, and we feel. We feel deeply. And if we're not feeling, that's really interesting as well. Where has the body decided to go? We're not safe to do this feeling piece anymore. All of it we get to work with the subconscious to get that insight, to get those answers, to get that understanding, and then to rewire the reactions that we're currently experiencing. Fascinating. So interesting. That was today's riff. Thank you for being with me. Should you be interested in exploring your own subconscious support journey, of course, I would love to do that with you. So you can see the links below. We can book an intake call if you're a chatty person. I have intake forms if you're more of a typing person. Send me an email, whichever form of communication feels best for you. I've tried to keep as many of these open and available as possible. I'm so interested in that one-on-one deep support and really designing and curating for you a subconscious support care plan that's really going to get those answers, those insights, and those changes that you're seeking. Really making change be something that feels safe for us to receive and experience. I know in the past, if someone's been like, yeah, you should change that, I'd be like, what? Not a big fan of change. We're changing all day, every day. I'm a different person than the person I was when I started this video. Like 1 trillion cells have died and been reborn in that alone. So thank you for being with me here. Thank you for taking the time to be open to both yourself and myself. We get to do this. It gets to feel this good, and I'll speak to you soon.